Welcome in. Good morning. Thank you for watching Live Impact News on WCNT Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant, super producer. Carlene Bragg is here in front of me. How are you doing, Carlene?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. It is Tuesday by the day.
Yep.
Feeling better.
Yep.
You sound better too.
I do sound and feel better. How about you?
Man, I feel better.
Yeah.
I'm still a little congested. It's just like
Yeah.
that.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
we're getting over it, but we're on the other side.
Other side. I like to be on this side of things when you're sick. So yeah, there's that. It's Tuesday. Thank you for hanging with us. We have a busy show today, guys.
Sure do.
I am not over exaggerating. We have a lot to get into, and I don't want to waste any time. So let's start here. So this morning, President Donald Trump is back at the White House after a signing ceremony among mediators of the Gaza peace plan. He and his administration, basically helped broker. Though the two parties at war, Israel and Hamas, were notably absent from this ceremony yesterday, and we brought that to you here on Live Impact News. Now, the president addressed global leaders at a peace summit in Egypt after meeting in Israel with freed hostages and their families who are still celebrating their homecoming today. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest details from Washington.
This morning, as President Trump returns to the White House from a Middle East trip that sought to cement peace in Gaza.
Historic day, to put it mildly.
The final 20 living Israeli hostages are waking up at home for the first time in 2 years. Joyful family reunions nourishing a nation hollowed out by their long and painful absence. Images of Hamas terrorists abducting Noah Argamani as her boyfriend, Avinatan Or, was also dragged away, were among the most searing from the October 7th attacks. Noah was rescued last year. Avinatan leaping into her arms upon his release. While in Gaza, nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners also released through the peace deal, all returning to a war-ravaged territory. President Trump joined 20 other heads of state for a peace summit in Egypt, seeking long-term solutions.
We're going to have a lot of money coming into Gaza and a lot of rebuilding and building.
The president thanking neighboring Arab states for committing to helping rebuild.
I met with many of the people in this room, and it all just started coming together.
Though so far, Israel and Hamas have agreed to just phase one of President Trump's 20-point peace plan, with looming questions about Hamas disarming and leaving power, and who will govern Gaza through an uncertain future. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
All right, so that was NBC's Alice Barr on the latest on that peace plan there in Gaza. All right, so we want to get to a story that we broke here on Live Impact News yesterday. Actually, we broke it on WCNC Plus, but we carried that through on Live Impact News, and that was the death of LendingTree's founder, chairman, and CEO, Doug Lebda. He died in an all-terrain vehicle collision on Sunday. The company announced that yesterday. Now, in the wake of his death, we've gotten statements from the company, his wife, folks that were closest with him. I had the chance to speak with a family friend, also the former governor of North Carolina, Pat McCrory. An emotional interview as he talked about who Doug was, his impact, his love for Charlotte, his love for North Carolina, and sort of what he meant to not only this community, but his family, and also to former Governor Pat McCrory. Let's take a listen into that interview in case you missed it. We got some tragic news into our newsroom before we got into the stream. The chairman, founder, CEO of LendingTree, Doug Lebda, has died in an all-terrain vehicle collision. The company announced that. We got word of that this afternoon. Passed away on Sunday. Now, in the wake of his death, we've heard from people from within the company, also his wife. Here on Live Impact News, we have former North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory, a friend of Doug Lebda. Mr. McCrory, thank you for your time.
Thank you. We're still in shock. The family, his friends, the great family of LendingTree, his kids. Doug was one of the greatest American entrepreneurs of his generation. And he picked Charlotte and he picked North Carolina as home when he could have gone anywhere in the world, or at least in America, to make his headquarters. But he selected Charlotte when he was a young guy, about 28 years old, and I've known him ever since. And just a heart of gold. And we've lost a giant at a very young age, and a very, very close personal friend.
You talk about, as you mentioned, him being a close personal friend. What memories stick out? Can you talk about that relationship?
We shared a lot of thoughts about leadership and the battles of leadership and the struggles of leadership while I was both mayor and governor. And he was chairman and CEO of LendingTree. We taught each other from different perspectives. I was an old man to Doug, but he was a visionary, just an incredible visionary who his brain worked in a whole different level than any of most people. And by that, he created a lot of jobs and created a great company called LendingTree. And he was just a great dad and a great human being. And I talked to him twice this past week about he was starting a farm. This high-tech entrepreneur had just bought a farm in the Tryon area. He wanted to return back to his rural roots of Pennsylvania, and he did it here in North Carolina. And tragically, that's where the accident occurred. And I'm just heartbroken for his wife and his daughters.
Where were you, if you don't mind me asking, where were you when you got the news, and just sort of take me through those range of emotions?
Yeah, I was here in Charlotte, but I'm in shock. He was too young to pass, and he had a lot of years ahead of him. And he had new ideas. He was an entrepreneur, but one great thing about Doug, I always said, you entrepreneurs impress me because you take risk. He says, good entrepreneurs don't take risk. Good entrepreneurs know exactly what they're doing. And that was a lesson learned from me, being a politician and a business person myself. He had just incredible energy and passion, and he loved this city of Charlotte, and he loved North Carolina. And again, he could have lived anywhere in the world. He had become very successful. He started LendingTree out of his garage while he was an MBA student at University of Virginia. He came up with this idea, and he didn't finish it, the MBA at that point in time. He finished it many years later. He went ahead and implemented the business plan for LendingTree, which is such a national brand. But he was more than the founder and entrepreneur of CEO of LendingTree. He was always thinking about ways to help educate kids, especially in business acumen. He really reached out to people who needed help, and he didn't seek publicity in doing it. He did it from the heart, and I know about what he did. And he reached out to me also during the toughest of times, and I'll never forget it.
You talk about from the heart. His wife, in a statement, said he had a big heart, and I just want to, from our reporting, from back in 2020, announced a $1 million donation to a COVID-19 fund at the time. Everybody remembers 2020 and what we were going through with that donation and his heart. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, he could cry at a moment's notice, and you don't see many top business people do that. He'd do it behind the scenes, but if he talked about his family or people suffering, he would tear up in a minute. And I'm tearing up. I've been crying this morning about this tragic loss for so many who knew him. And I loved his energy. I loved his competitiveness. I loved his heart. I loved his love for his daughters and his wife, and the love for Charlotte. He did a lot for Charlotte behind the scenes during my tenure as mayor, and a lot for the state during my tenure as governor. But more than anything, he was my friend.
Why did Charlotte resonate so much to him? This is I'm a North Carolinian. I know Charlotte is special, but why for him? Why did it resonate so much?
I think at the time he came up with the idea. He grew up in Pennsylvania, and he was at UVA when he was doing a master's thesis on this concept of, he got ripped off on a mortgage. and he was he grew up in a blue collar family with little or no money. And that's where he came up with the idea of LendingTree. And he said he looked at several cities, but something about Charlotte struck him. And I got to know him shortly after he moved here. And he and I played a little bit of golf together. He'd kick my tail in golf. He was a good bit younger than me, still did to this day. And he kept Charlotte as home. And he invested in Charlotte a great deal, in people, and build a great company.
Mr. McCrory, you've been so generous with your time. Before I let you go, I just want to ask, obviously this is the obvious question, but as human to human, I want to ask, how's his family doing in this time?
They're struggling. I mean, we're in shock. He was a young man. I met him when he was 28 years old, and he thought I was an old man at 42, I think, or 41. And now I'm turning 69 this week, and the same age difference existed. But, I considered myself not just a friend, but a mentor, and he mentored me in a lot of ways that he didn't know. He taught me how his generation thought. And you think about it, he was one of the great innovators of his generation in our country. I mean, everyone knows Lending Tree. He came up with it. He came up with the whole concept, and I just admired him. He was a brilliant mind, both financial mind and problem-solving mind, and innovative mind. He could look to the future like very few people can, and but yet he always returned back to the earth. And for him I was just talking to him the other day about his farm outside of Tryon that he just bought. I mean, who would have thought Doug Lebda would be out on a farm and have this tragic accident? Well, he's returning back to his roots, and it puts a smile on my face that he was where I know. He was bragging about the farm just 2 days ago, and he was loving it, loving planting things. And that says something about him. His feet were firmly on the ground, in the soil.
Mr. McCrory, I know this is a difficult time, but thank you for sharing those stories. Thank you for your time. My condolences go out to you, Mr. Lebda's family as well. Our condolences from here at WCNC Charlotte go out to you guys.
We lost a great one. But his impact will be felt for many generations. So God bless.
Thank you again, Mr. McCrory, for your time. And again, our condolences. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, emotional interview there with former North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory. We're going to head to break. We're going to be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNT Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. So we want to head to Raleigh, where right now happening, and you can see this virtually, it's happening in person, but we want to take you there virtually, is a joint legislative oversight committee meeting on Medicaid. Now, this is happening at the North Carolina General Assembly. I just want to point out, this comes just a day after North Carolina Governor Josh Stein announced efforts to wipe out $6.5 billion in medical debt for 2.5 million people across the state. So let's take a listen in to what leaders are discussing there at the General Assembly.
COVID-19 pandemic, but H.R. 1 cuts federal contributions to the Medicaid program. It gets at federal cost drivers and reduces federal spending. It also limits state financing flexibilities that help the state bring in revenue for the program. And I'll point this out because Medicaid accounts for over half of all the federal funds that you receive in your state. It's 56% nationwide, according to the National Association of State Budget Officers. So that's a big chunk of change that will continue to decline out of the program in future years. And Medicaid is also countercyclical. What this means is that it's sensitive to economic conditions. When state economic conditions are strong, fewer people are enrolled in Medicaid, and the state brings in more revenue to account for those costs. When state economic conditions decline, what ends up happening is more people are enrolled in the Medicaid program at the same time that the state has less general fund revenue to account for those costs. So moving on to enrollment. What have been the trends in enrollment? Well, nationwide, states have seen declines in enrollment following unwinding from the COVID-19 pandemic, but they have seen increases in acuity. So how sick or healthy the individuals in your Medicaid program are. And as a result of that, many states nationwide are reporting increases in Medicaid managed care rates and costs to account for the acuity of the members in the program. And H.R. 1 introduces new eligibility limits, things that are likely to reduce the number of people that are enrolled in the program. And finally, on the spending side, in recent years, especially in light of enhanced federal funding and more flush and stable state budget conditions, we have seen states almost uniformly across the board expand eligibility and benefits and increase provider payment rates over recent years. H.R. 1, again, introduces kind of a new dynamic here in that it imposes payment limits, particularly on certain types of provider payments. And with that, we'll turn to the Medicaid managed care national landscape. So I'm not going to linger on this slide, but broadly there are 4 types of Medicaid delivery systems. Managed care is one of those. And when we're talking about a Medicaid delivery system, what we're talking about is how the Medicaid program is structured, who is responsible for certain program operations, whether that's paying providers or screening providers, conducting program integrity, conducting benefits eligibility, deciding what benefits are covered or not. And then how payments flow through that system. Do they go directly to providers from the state, or do they go and flow through managed care organizations? So managed care is one of 4 delivery systems, and the key difference between all of these is really whether the state retains control and over operations or whether it delegates some responsibility for operations and then exercises oversight over that. And the state legislative role is also consistent across delivery systems. So state legislatures have a role in deciding what delivery systems are in the state and how they're structured, who's covered in which delivery systems, what benefits are covered, and then obviously oversight, like you all are doing here today. So, when we're looking at the Medicaid managed care landscape, broadly, there has been an increasing trend towards managed care in recent years, and that's continuing to grow. So as of this year, 42 states use managed care, and Idaho enacted legislation this last year to transition to managed care in 2026. Managed care covers 75% of Medicaid enrollees nationwide, and these are predominantly children and expansion adults. So 80% of children and 80% of expansion adults are covered under Medicaid managed care. And payments to managed care organizations account for over half of Medicaid spending nationally, with the remainder of payments coming out into directly for fee-for-service benefits, such as hospitals, prescription drugs, all of that. So you might be asking, why 52% of spending, but 75% of enrollees? And that goes back to what it costs to cover different populations. So if you think to our per enrollee median spending, and children and non-disabled and young adults have the lowest per enrollee spending. If you think of managed care organizations traditionally covering those children and adults, they are going to have proportionally lower spending per enrollee. However, with that said, we have increasingly seen managed care organizations cover complex enrollees. So people with disabilities, including people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and older adults. And we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but Florida recently in 2023 initiated a managed care pilot program for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And then finally, states use value-based purchasing and financial incentives to address quality. So when we're talking about value-based purchasing or value-based payments, generally what we're talking about is payment for value or outcomes instead of for the volume of services rendered. But in the managed care context, this comes up in a couple different ways. You can either have payment incentives for the providers themselves. So the providers are held to certain quality or cost benchmarks or outcomes, or you can hold the managed care organizations directly responsible for quality and outcomes through financial incentives. The financial incentives in the managed care context may look like value-based payment targets. So it tells the managed care organization you have to pay providers in a certain way to hold them accountable for quality, or it can come through financial incentives for the MCOs through capitation withholds, so withholding of a certain amount of premium payments, which is then returned to the MCO when they meet quality and outcomes and measures, and a couple other mechanisms that we'll talk about. So we're going to take a look at some state managed care kind of programs and what these look like, but I do want to highlight when you have seen one Medicaid program, you have seen one Medicaid program. This is both a joke and a truism. If you haven't seen 4 million Medicaid presentations in your life, this is in pretty much every single one of them. But it really is apples to oranges. Who is covered in Medicaid managed care? Who is, what benefits are covered? How your value-based incentives are structured, either directly in your provider payments. This all matters in terms of what you're going to see in different states. So I think it's important to look at this as a landscape of policy options and not a, so-and-so's doing it perfectly. Everybody's context is different. So on that note, let's dig into 4 state examples from Florida, Oklahoma, Oregon, and Texas. So starting with Florida. So historically, Florida has had a pretty long-standing managed care program. It rolled out statewide in 1984, so they have quite long-standing experience with this. And the current state is that they have 3 components to their managed care. They have a medical assistance managed care, which is children and most adults. They have long-term care and dental. So these are 3 kind of distinct managed care programs. But we also see that not everyone is in managed care. 87% of their population is in managed care, but there still remains 13%, at least as of 2022 data, that remain enrolled in a fee-for-service or state-operated delivery system. And as I mentioned, they did enact legislation in 2023 to create a pilot program for managed care for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So it looks like they may be looking to continue transferring more individuals into managed care. And they have, as we talked about, value-based purchasing payment targets. So these are requirements for what the managed care organization pays providers and how they pay providers. And then quality withholds for the plan as well. So we're going to walk through some of these managed care oversight tactics that they have. So on the value-based purchasing side, Florida established purchasing targets for both general, so the medical assistants, and dental managed care organizations to increase the level of provider risk for each contract year. So over each year of the managed care contract, the MCO is required to have a certain percentage of 10, 20, 30% of payments in a certain level of risk. The providers are supposed to assume a certain level of risk, and then that's required to increase over time, where providers are assuming increased financial risk over time. Additionally, there are incentives to drive improvement, but these incentives are more targeted towards the managed care organizations themselves and not just the providers. The plan incentives include a 2% quality withhold, which is then redistributed back to the plans based on their performance on the healthcare effectiveness data and information system measures. I might have gotten that acronym a little wrong. The plan incentives include preferred assignment or auto-enrollment of beneficiaries into plans that are high-performing on performance measures. And there's also penalties for poor-performing plans. So the lowest performing plans are subject to corrective action, liquidated damages, enrollment freezes or enrollment algorithm reductions, and enrollment caps. So you can see both the carrot and stick approach in some of what Florida is doing. They have both the payment incentives in the quality withhold, as well as, and in preferred assignment of beneficiaries, as well as penalties. It's kind of double-ended with plans that perform highly, getting access to some of the benefits, and plans that perform, I think it's below 12% below some of the performance measures. You can start see some of these penalties kicking in on performance measures. Florida also has a quality bureau, which is responsible for managed care quality oversight, which includes measurement and improvement, research and evaluation of managed care plans, monitoring of clinical outcomes, oversight of prior authorization, and clinical consultation to the broader agency. And the Bureau here, the Quality Bureau, publishes annual health plan scores for all 3 types of plans and has a quality initiatives dashboard with goals related to potentially preventable events and improving birth outcomes specifically. And then finally, Florida has a compliance actions dashboard where it tracks the total number of actions and dollar amount by year for each managed care organization that they have corrective action plans, liquidated damages, and sanctions. So all of that is publicly available on a dashboard. Moving on to Oklahoma. So Oklahoma's got kind of an interesting delivery system history here. So in 2004, they moved from a managed care model, a very early iteration of a managed care model, into a primary care case management delivery system. They integrated behavioral health, and then in 2024, alongside the state's Medicaid expansion, they moved from primary care case management back to a managed care model. And they kept patient-centered medical homes, which had been integrated into their primary care case management model, into their managed care model. So primary care case management delivery systems and patient-centered medical homes tend to have some similar and overlapping features. So some of that was intended to be carried into the managed care model. We don't really have current data on their managed care population as of what the last data we have is 2022. They transitioned in 2024. But as of last date, 66% was in primary care case management. So we assume at least some percentage of that has moved over into managed care. And they have patient-centered medical homes, primary care payment reform. So this includes primary care spending assessments and spending targets that they're working towards, and some value-based payment targets for providers as well as their participants in the cell and gene therapy model, which is a CMS innovation model targeted towards prescription drugs, especially high-cost prescription drugs and cell and gene therapies. So their managed care oversight includes several different features, including the monitoring and oversight tool. So the state has contracted with a consultancy to develop a tool for the state's use to analyze all of the managed care reports that it receives from MCOs to assist in enforcing the state's contractual and regulatory requirements. And the intent here is for the consultancy to come in and help the state build and stand up their own tool for the state's continued use, not just for the state to consult that out temporarily. They also have a quality advisory committee, which has been tasked with developing the state's primary care spending target and analyzing primary care spending. The state also has value-based payment targets, so it's transitioning providers paid by managed care organizations into those value-based payment arrangements. And it also has some performance measures that are tied to those value-based payment targets, including the performance metrics are tied to decreasing emergency department visits for adults and children and increasing that primary care access. And the state also has targets that cost growth targets that are specific to Medicaid that are set against the national health insurance expenditure growth rate. So the state reported that in fiscal year 2024, its cost growth target was below 5%, and that fiscal 24 actual cost growth was 4%, so it was within that target. And it's below 6% through fiscal year 2029. So we'll have to see how the state performs on that. So one thing I'll note here is that while there are performance measures and cost growth targets that the state has set for the Medicaid program, it's unclear whether or not there's any financial risk for the managed care organizations tied to achievement of these measures. So like we saw in Florida, there's both incentives and penalties, carrot and stick. What we're seeing in Oklahoma is mostly carrot. So far as we can tell, or it's more focused on the provider population, not so much on the managed care organizations. Moving on to Oregon. So Oregon did comprehensive reform, Medicaid expansion, and transition to managed care organizations in 2012. One thing notable about Oregon's delivery system is that it's really managed care organizations kind of blended with what's called accountable care organizations. So these are managed care organizations that are held to population-based payment targets and global budgets. They're accountable and are required to be organized in a certain way and have certain governance structures. They're required and held to certain quality performance measures, and part of their payment in the global budget is tied to their performance on quality. So this covers acute, behavioral, and dental care services, and there are 16 coordinated care organizations in Oregon. Each is assigned to a specific geographic region, so they're not competitive with each other. They're each accountable for one particular region in the state. And over 90% of Oregon's Medicaid population is enrolled in Medicaid managed care in the CCOs. Oregon also has a wide range of value-based purchasing that they've done in the state, both in and outside of Medicaid, including primary care spending targets and payment reforms. They have those global budgets like we talked about. And they also have an all-payer claims database, which is a tool that states can use to evaluate spending in the program and other activities in the program. So on the managed care oversight side, Oregon also has a cost growth target. Theirs was set lower than Oklahoma's at 3.4% from 2021 to 2025.
All right, so you're watching and listening to Live Impact News on WCNT Plus. I'm Nick Serder. Right now, you're listening in General Assembly. So the Joint Legislative Oversight Committee is meeting to discuss Medicaid. So that's happening right now. But we want to come back here at home, and we want to step aside for just 2 minutes. We're going to take a break. We'll be back here in 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNT Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene Bragg is here in studio. Speaking of brag, I'm going to continue to brag because the Panthers beat the Cowboys. Yes, we beat the Cowboys. We're 3-3. There are a lot of Panther haters out there not giving us our credit. Look, I'm going to take this win in stride. I'm going to be humble about it.
Yeah, take it.
3-3, best case scenario for us. So we enter week 7, 3-3, and we play against an 0-6 New York Jets team. Now, I'm not going to take this team lightly because this might be a bounce back game for them, revenge game for them somehow, some way.
Right. Don't underestimate it.
We're going to the New Meadowlands in Jersey to play them. So, a lot of things can happen. Look, I'm not going to get too high. I'm just going to stay right here like Carlene taught me to stay right here in the middle, and that's what I'm going to do. But we beat the Cowboys.
That's right.
How about them Cowboys?
Bills lost to the Falcons.
The Bills lost. I wasn't going to bring it up. But y'all had one job. It was to beat the Falcons. Come on, Carlene. I had one job.
I know. But, you just kind of felt it, too. You're like, yeah.
It just didn't – it seemed like there were – moments in the game where you're like, okay, the Bills it's going to turn.
It's going to turn around, and then it never got there.
Never clicked. It just felt like the Bills just didn't feel like playing.
Yeah, they really, they weren't. Their head wasn't there.
Yeah, and I feel like you and Meg, also a Bills fan, told me that yesterday, and I didn't want to listen. You guys are kind of like, I don't know about this game. You didn't feel good about this game.
We have a feeling, call it women's intuition.
Yeah.
And it was right.
It just didn't.
We went in with a little bit of doubt, and that doubt, won it over.
I'm not saying the Falcons did not play a good game. It just didn't look like the Bills wanted to play.
Yeah. We had to watch that with Brittany.
Yeah. Falcons fan. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. And I root for the Bills.
Of course.
I want y'all to do well this year. I want y'all to go to the. I'm not going to say it. I want y'all to go to the big dance.
I would like us to go as far as we can.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
I just want us to make the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
The playoffs? Charlotte, when there's a playoff game?
Popping.
Yes.
Popping.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, the Commanders lost to the Bears. Field goal kick. That was a great game. But, again, let's focus on Week 7. Week 6 is behind us. Jets, Panthers. So coming off that big victory, WCNC Charlotte's Danielle Stein spoke with Antoine Staley, Jets reporter for the New York Daily News, about the Panthers-Jets game this week. Let's take a listen into that interview.
All right, it is another Victory Monday in Carolina as the Panthers move to 3-3 on their season. They're at 500 for their first time in nearly 4 years as we bring in a very special guest as we're previewing the Week 7 matchup between the Panthers and the New York Jets. Antoine Staley is the beat reporter with the New York Daily News. Antoine, I know you also you have your Carolina roots, so we're going to have some fun with this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good to kind of reconnect with people down there and be with y'all today, too, as well.
Absolutely. So I know you covered the team for a few years, 2019, 2021. We were just chatting about that. Not much carryover between then and now in terms of players, in terms of coaching. Obviously, J.J. Jansen, the tried and true long snapper, is still repping based on your memory of the teams, right?
Yeah, I mean, that seemed like a lifetime ago, those years. I mean, the year I started covering the Panthers, they fired Ron Rivera then, ended up getting a new coach at Perry Field. Then obviously Matt Rule comes in, then he gets fired. So it's a lot. That seemed like just a million years ago, really.
Right. And I'm new, obviously, to this area, too, and I'm still learning the team and the history and everything. But obviously, there's a pretty good feeling right now around this Carolina Panthers team that might not have been, really in play in quite a few years. So it's going to be interesting to see how that continues. I want to start with talking about their last game. They had a pretty impressive win this past weekend against the Cowboys. I mean, it was a shootout. It was pretty back and forth, pretty quality play in both sides, actually. We saw some incredible offense from Dak Prescott once again to George Pickens, some incredible catches, hurdling. We saw some crazy things. Just that final drive from the Panthers to get down and have their rookie kicker, Ryan Fitzgerald, ice this game, winning it. Just seeing that kind of fight out of this Panthers team. Did you have any thoughts on what they looked like on Sunday?
Yeah, I actually was able to watch the game because the Jets had played early on in the morning, obviously being in London. So I did watch a bit of that. And, I think it was interesting just the fact that, Panthers are they're showing really life, really after that Patriots loss, like couple of weeks ago there. You end up having, the victory last week, and then now you parlayed that with this. And, I thought they ran the ball really well, and I thought they did some things, especially considering the Jets had just played the Cowboys the week prior, that the Jets were not able to do. They weren't able to really establish the line of scrimmage there. They weren't able, they got a little bit more pressure than the Jets were able to on Dak Prescott, although obviously he's been playing all world. But, I feel like just the grit and this determination of this team really just stood out to me. And I feel like that's something that you can really just tell, and it's starting to carry over with this team. And they're really starting to get Dave Canales' message going well for them at the moment.
Yeah, it feels like there is starting to be an identity of this team that's forming, especially, yes, that's true, after that Patriots loss. Of course, they were coming off of that shutout win of Atlanta the week before, so that was definitely a jarring step back. Maybe a little bit of a reality check that, hey, we're not going to beat everyone 30-0. But since then, it seems like they've been finding their footing all three fronts. And kind of going back to just how they ended it and kind of were grinding it out. To contrast that, I guess, to what New York's game was. They had a chance. It was a close game, and we saw what happened in London, that 13-11 loss to the Broncos right there.
Yeah, it was a bit of an ugly game. The Jets couldn't really get anything going offensively. Justin Fields had as many completions as he was sacked on the day, too. He had 9 completions that was sacked 9 times there. Yeah. Really held the ball really too long there. Also couldn't get really...
All right, so we're going to put a pin in that. That was that 101 conversation with Antoine Staley, Jets beat reporter there for the New York Daily News. Let's talk about Halloween, because, man, so Carlene sent me the info yesterday, and I'm like, isn't Halloween like 2 months away? No, it is 2 weeks away, and I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
I love Halloween.
I'm not ready. Look, my neighbors have decorations, and that's the telltale sign. My neighbors have decorations. They have everything up. But look, there are a lot of people that have their decorations up. People are still figuring out decorations, but scammers are lurking.
Yeah.
They're out here.
They're out here.
Friend of the show, Better Business Bureau's Juliana O'Rourke is here. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. How are you guys?
I'm doing well. I can't get over it. So folks are buying decorations. As I mentioned before, my neighbors have lights up. They have
pumpkins.
Like
I have a ghost. Do you have any decorations up?
Not outside, because I don't have a covered porch. So anytime I do put something up, if it rains, it like destroys anything. So I don't put anything up, and my HOA is very weird about like
that's fair
stuff in your front lawn. So I just kind of leave it alone.
What do folks look out for? Because nowadays you scroll on any social media app and you get ads for something. We could just talk about this. I'm probably going to get an ad on Instagram.
Exactly. Sure. Yes. So social media serves us ads all day long, every day, right? And especially with holidays coming up, Halloween. I know we thought it was 2 months from now. It's actually like 2 weeks away. So you're going to get lots of ads for Halloween specifically. And so when it comes to these decorations, the National Retail Federation has basically said people are going to spend about $13 billion this year on Halloween. That's a lot of money. As you can imagine, it's not just on decorations, but decorations is a big piece of it. And I think these like big lawn ornaments seem to be trending recently. But so what we've seen and what people have reported to us is that they've been served an ad on social media for some of these lawn ornaments or what have you, Halloween decorations, and they go to purchase, they click on the ad, find it's a great price, they buy it, and then unfortunately either the items they get are not, these huge blow-up things, they're these 12-inch dolls that they look kind of like what they saw in the ad, but not exactly the same, or they just don't get anything at all. And so basically these are scammers lurking around on social media, serving you these great deals, these enticing ads. They're, great marketing, great advertising, and you click and you buy, and you do this very quickly because they use language that's very pressing. They want you to to immediately buy right now. Otherwise, hey, you might miss this great deal. You know, the prices are so good, it's too good to be true.
Right.
And so that's a red flag, of course. But unfortunately, it's happening, and people are reporting it to us. So we know it's also happening in our area. And I think that's the biggest thing we want people to know is just awareness, right? Making sure that if you're going to be buying these items, there's no rush. If a sale is happening, it's happening. You don't have to buy within 5 minutes. I don't think a 5 or 10, 15-minute difference is going to matter. But if the price is too good to be true, it's because it is.
Oh man, the tell as old as time. If the price is too good to be true,
Yes.
yeah, it's just probably a scam, folks.
Yeah.
So what should folks do if I look at this ad and we have this whole interview and I say, you know what, I'm going to go against Juliana's advice and I'm going to go purchase this right now because it's $5.
Right.
What should I keep in mind?
You probably lost your $5,
Okay,
first of all. But if you click on the ad because you're excited about it, when you get to that website, check to see what are their spelling errors, are there grammatical errors, reverse Google image search to see where else those images are showing up and appearing. You can also, instead of clicking directly on the ad from social media, say it's got a company name, what have you, do a Google search outside of the social media platform and see if you can still find the same deal, find the same website. Yeah. Sometimes they build these websites specifically only people can find from clicking on those ads. So if, for instance, you want to lose your $5, use your credit card. Don't pay with a gift card or peer-to-peer payments. We know that if you send something on a Venmo, Cash App, that money's gone. If it's a gift card, same situation. So at least if you use a credit card, you can report it as fraud or go back to your financial institution and say, hey, I never got this product. What I did get was not what I was expecting. So you have a little bit of protection there.
Let's talk about Halloween on a budget. I call this time of year you might go broke time of year. And I say that lightly. But, look, Halloween folks are spending a lot of money on decorations, candy, costumes.
Yes.
What should people keep in mind?
So first with the costumes, get creative. Look around your house, first of all. You don't have to go out and buy these expensive costumes, or maybe they aren't quite expensive, but they're a little bit cheaply made, right? So you're going to wear it one time out of the year. Maybe you'll be lucky and get a second wear out of it a couple years down the road. But look around your house first and foremost. There are places that rent costumes. You can check out bbb.org to see where you could potentially rent a costume, or check with your friends and maybe swap. Hey, if somebody was something a couple years ago, you guys are roughly the same size, or some costumes the size doesn't necessarily matter depending on what you are. Swap with your friends. Look to see different ways that you can save money. So for costumes, we would recommend a few of those things. When it comes to buying candy, we recommend buying in bulk if you can. So check out the Costco's, the Sam's Club, these warehouse type stores, because even though it seems like you're spending more because you're buying in bulk, you're actually spending less because per piece it breaks down to less. So, keep those things in mind, of course. And then if you are going to buy a costume, especially from a seasonal store, make sure you understand, these stores pop up, they come and they go very quickly. They're only around for the Halloween time. So understand, hey, do they have a return policy? Is everything final sale? When are they going to be closing up shop and leaving? Is it November 1st? Is it the 2nd? Again, pay with a credit card. At least that way you have a little bit of protection behind you. But keep all of those things in mind when you're shopping.
Oh man, can I tell you what I was for Halloween? The last time I got it. Usually Halloween falls, when I have to work. Right. But the last time it fell and I didn't have to work. It was a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago. I was LL Cool J.
Okay.
And I took your advice. I found a wave cap. You remember back in the 90s, LL Cool J had a wave cap. I had some shades. I found like an old FUBU sweatshirt on. Rolled up my pants leg.
Yes.
So I don't know what I'm going to be for Halloween this year.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got plenty of costumes you can borrow.
Well, Carlene, what are you going to be for Halloween?
I can't tell.
Okay.
I do a reveal. Juliana, I don't like.
Look,
I know we know each other for a while, but we haven't been together for Halloween. And I do Halloween homemade,
get you to tell
and
me.
I do it big.
Good for you.
I've been. Last year, I still have it in case you want it. I was a Happy Meal. I made the big box.
Oh, that's
McDonald's Happy Meal.
Okay, that's
Not
great.
sponsored. I just love
That's
McDonald's.
so great.
I've been McDonald's fries. I've been a 7-Eleven Slurpee. I was Colonel Sanders. I was a fried chicken bucket.
Well, did you see their display at the Whitewater Center for the Build Your Own Boat this past weekend? McDonald's had one. Girl, they had smoke. They had their little fry.
What?
I got a video. I'll show you later.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, so there's that. You can basically build it yourself. Go to Goodwill. I mean, check stuff out at the thrift stores.
Some great
I usually
stuff.
get pretty thrifty. I'm actually being a ninja this year.
I was about to ask you, what are you,
I am
ninja?
going trick-or-treating with my 4-year-old nephew who could not be more excited. He decided he wanted to be a ninja, and I said, you want me to come trick-or-treating with you? And he was like, oh my gosh, yes. And I said, you want me to be a ninja too? And he said, only if you're a green one, let's go. I said, okay, we're doing it.
Oh,
So,
man.
you know, I made the mistake. I ordered some swords on Amazon thinking, not reading quickly. They are real. They're real swords. So they came and, you know, I got this FaceTime from my sister and him. And he's like, oh my God, these are real. My sister's like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
what are
Why
you
are you
doing?
ordering weapons?
So I was like, oh, okay, sorry about that, but we're gonna have a good time.
Oh my
So,
God.
yeah.
Enjoy that. My niece and nephew they're too old now. They don't want to
Yeah.
do trick or treating.
Well, my niece is 19, so she's like,
Yeah, she's too
not,
cool.
no, thank you. My nephew's 4, and he's like, let's go. So
Oh,
I'm gonna
man,
go back
that
up
is
to
gonna be
Ohio
fun.
and trick or treat my little heart out on Friday night. We'll see what we
Oh,
can get.
man.
Yeah.
What we come home with, right?
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I did have one.
What?
It was before I went bald.
Okay.
It was right when I was on the cusp of being bald.
Okay.
Chris Paul.
Oh.
'Cause Chris Paul, I was gonna get a jersey and everything, but then I saw the jerseys like $100 some.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
like,
like,
am I
nah.
really that big of a Chris Paul fan?
You go
What
like
am I
more
wearing?
realistic ones, and I'm like, what inanimate object could I be
Right.
this year?
I feel like I usually do more realistic ones. So last year I was Ariana Grande. I always find a picture of like whoever I kind of want to be, and then I figure out how to match that picture perfectly.
Right.
And sometimes people are like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Okay." And then I pull up the photo, and they're like, "Wow." So one year I went as Jessie Spano from Saved by the Bell,
okay.
and I had a partner at the time who looked just like AC Slater, so that was great.
Cute.
People they were like, "Oh, wait a minute," and then you'd show them the picture, and they'd be like, "Whoa, you nailed it!" And I'm like, "I know, but you need the picture," you know.
Oh
Yeah.
man, look! I'm getting inspired and
Yeah.
excited. All right, Halloween's not 2 months away; it's 2 weeks away. Let me keep that in mind. Make sure you follow this good advice from Giuliano Award. In case you missed his interview, it'll be on our digital platforms and a little bit. Our awesome digital team will put that up shortly. Juliana, thank you.
Hey,
Gave me some
thanks
good
for having me.
ideas, some good
Yeah.
advice. She's coming back next week. Jane will be back. I might have to crash the interview.
Okay.
I always
Come on
enjoy
by.
these. All right. Thank you for your time, Juliana.
Thanks.
All right. So we're going to take a break here, take a pause. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNT Plus. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNT Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We want to go back now to the interview with Antoine Staley. He is a Jets beat reporter for the New York Daily News, previewing the Panthers-Jets game this week. He spoke with Danielle Stein. Let's take a listen in.
one in the run game too as well. So, it felt like the Jets had opportunities to win the game. Even, you look back to before halftime, they had an opportunity to probably get some points before halftime. They let 30 seconds just run off the clock without even snapping the ball. Yeah. And then even at the end of the game, Justin Fields gets sacked. They have an opportunity possibly to get in field goal range maybe for a 60-yarder. They decided not to do it and, end up losing it. But that's kind of been the nutshell of the Jets season this year. Just a lot of close losses, but, some optimism, some good things to take away. But at the end of the day, it's a results-based business. And right now, they're the only winless team in the NFL.
I mean, sometimes seeing history can be an exciting thing, but for the history that the Jets made of finishing with -10 receiving yards in a game, not just in a quarter, not just the last drive, anything, that was their total offense of -10. I mean, obviously a lot of that's coming from if Justin Fields is getting sacked and he's not able to make these completions, but just talk about what you're seeing on this Jets offense and why there are these struggles at this point.
I think it's a few things. Well, it's a lot of different things. I think, one, he's just not playing up to par. Again, holding on to the ball too long. I mean, when part of the sacks were on him. I figure probably 5 or 6 of them. The other one with the offensive line was not necessarily protecting very well. Also, the Broncos have one of the best fronts in the NFL and one of the best defenses in general. And they came into the league. They came into the game, leading the league in sacks, and they did nothing to take away from that as well. They ended up just harassing Justin Fields in the offense all day, and they were able to, limit the Jets rushing attack too as well. So you can't run the ball, you can't throw the ball, then more often than not, you're definitely going to lose. But yeah, Fields has just been really, that's really been, his season so far, where, he's been able to have these decent games there, but also comes back and has games like this, and also against Buffalo where he completed 311 passes for 27 yards before he ended up going out with a concussion.
Justin's someone who's obviously been around the block in his young NFL career already so far. I mean, there's still that faith in him, but I'm just thinking, like, in contrast to Bryce, who did struggle a lot early in his career, but his team stuck with him, whereas Justin obviously was with the Bears, and he went to Pittsburgh Steelers, and then now he's in New York. So, like, this is a guy who's kind of gone through it and been around. So do you feel like, I mean, the answer feels obvious, but for a team to have that faith and invest in their player, especially when they're drafting them as highly as these quarterbacks were, and to say, like, we're gonna work these kinks out together and keep the faith and just keep going with one person, I feel like, at least in the Panthers world right now, it seems like it's paying dividends, where Bryce is getting his footing back. There's that belief, there's that established relationship between him and the players, rather than just giving up and moving them to another team.
There's continuity there with the Panthers too right now, where Fields has had, I believe this is his 5th different offense, and 4th or 5th different offense in 5 years, and it's hard to have that continuity and also just that chemistry with your teammates and also your coaches when you're changing them out every single year, whether your head coach gets fired or your offensive coordinator gets fired or you get traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, or now in this case the Jets gave him $30 million guaranteed as well, so now he's learning their new offense on the fly, and really it's really a one-year audition for him, because the Jets can release him after the season is over next March and save $11 million. It'll be a little bit of a cap hit, but this is you have 11 games left, a really 11-game audition for Justin Fields to prove that he can be one of those quarterbacks that can turn his career around in a different location, sort of what you saw in Baker Mayfield there, who also was in Carolina, also Sam Darnold, who was with Baker Mayfield in Carolina at the same time, and the Jets feel like Justin Fields has the tools to do that, but he just hasn't played up to that standard on a consistent basis.
Yeah, and we'll go into a little bit more in terms of coaching stuff also.
All right, so that is some of that conversation with Danielle Antoine Staley, New York Jets beat reporter for the New York Daily News, previewing the Panthers-Jets matchup. But we want to go now to Capitol Hill, where House Speaker Mike Johnson is speaking as we are now entering day 14 of the government shutdown. Let's take a listen in.
Of how they treated them, they no longer spit upon them. As he said in his own words, elections have consequences. And he said or implied that the Hamas was counting on Kamala Harris to win and not President Donald J. Trump. But thankfully for the whole world, that didn't happen. And this is an historic moment. It deserves enormous credit and recognition on the world stage. It's truly, truly historic. For generations, we have aspired to peace in the Middle East, everyone around the world, and now President Trump has delivered it. I'm going to make an announcement today. It's the announcement in the U.S. that was made in the Knesset yesterday. I'm proud to tell you that together with my friend Speaker Ohana of the Israeli Knesset, the equivalent of our Congress, we're going to embark upon a project together to rally speakers and presidents of parliaments around the world so that we will jointly nominate President Donald J. Trump for next year's Nobel Peace Prize. No one has ever deserved that prize more, and that is an objective fact. As Speaker Ohana said before the Knesset yesterday, quote, "Whoever saves one life, it is as though he has saved an entire world." That's what some of the rabbis there would say, some of the sages he noted would say. It's an indisputable fact that no president has undertaken the work of saving lives and pursuing peace with such determination and with such remarkable success as President Trump. And under his leadership, we are witnessing the dawn of a new golden age, not just for America, but for the entire free world. The world is changed by these actions and strong leadership. American strength is good for free people around the world, as we say always. And peace through strength is maintained. There will be more to share on this in the weeks ahead, but today marks the start of this effort that we'll embark upon together, this joint parliamentary project, and I'm honored to do it alongside our ally and my counterpart in Israel in leading that effort. Welcome to day 14 of the Democrat government shutdown. It's 2 weeks of Democrats in Congress inflicting untold pain on the American people for nothing other than pure politics, as we've explained at this podium every day of the shutdown. Today, Senate Democrats will have their 8th chance to end this mess by passing our clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution, the government funding bill that would end all of this immediately. Over 3 weeks ago, the House passed that bill, and you all know the details of it. It is completely clean. There are no policy changes, no partisan riders, no gimmicks or tricks at all. All it does is keep the lights on at the current funding levels for a few extra weeks while we complete the normal appropriations process. Now compare that to the Democrats' counterproposal. They're demanding $1.5 trillion in new spending paid for by American taxpayers. And I want you to be specific. I want us to be specific. I want you to note what that counterproposal includes, because we've not yet gone into all the details of it, because it's large and very absurd. But here's some of the highlights of this. It would reverse common sense reforms that Republicans made in the Working Families Tax Cut that keep illegal aliens off taxpayer-funded health care. This is a fact. Page 57, Section 2141 of their counterproposal, as we've been posting everywhere. And it would, they would add the illegal aliens, non-citizens, back to taxpayer-funded benefits. It would cost taxpayers nearly $200 billion. They would also remove a very reasonable and modest work requirement that we put on able-bodied young men with no dependents. As we've said, they should not be riding the wagon and taking Medicaid. That is intended for vulnerable populations, the elderly, disabled, and young pregnant women, for example, and not young able-bodied men without dependents who are playing video games. We put that into the law because it's common sense. Their counterproposal would reverse that. So taxpayers would be funding them again. They would make in their counterproposal permanent COVID-era Obamacare subsidies without any income caps or any other reforms at all. They would make that permanent. That would cost taxpayers an estimated $358 billion. They would take away the $50 billion that we put into the law to support rural hospitals. They would remove that. And they would send $500 million to liberal news outlets by refunding the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It would also restore up to $5 billion of American taxpayer funds for wasteful spending for international projects. Here's a couple of examples. This is in their legislation, their counterproposal on the CR to keep the lights open. This is what they want to do. They want to spend $24.6 million of your hard-earned dollars as a taxpayer for climate resilience in Honduras. They want to spend $13.4 million for civic engagement in Zimbabwe. They want to send $3.9 million for LGBTQI plus democracy grants in the Western Balkans. They want to spend $2.9 million of your dollars for desert locust risk reduction in the Horn of Africa, and $2 million.
All right, so that is House Speaker Mike Johnson there on Capitol Hill speaking as we are now on day 14 of the government shutdown. A lot of folks have questions regarding this shutdown, how it impacts them, especially when it comes to Medicare. Open enrollment for Medicare begins on October 15th. Millions of seniors are likely to reevaluate their health insurance options. Nearly 70 million Americans rely on Medicare. And right now on Live Impact News, we have Gary Culp, Medicare Sales Managing Director for HealthSpring, Medicare expert. Gary, thank you for your time.
Hey, I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
So explain to us, what is the Medicare annual enrollment period, and what are these dates? I know I mentioned October 15th, but can you explain that process?
Sure. The Medicare annual enrollment period is the time of year where Medicare beneficiaries can pause and take a moment to consider what is the right plan option for them for the upcoming year. And the time period actually starts on October 15th and runs through December 7th. And during that time, they can make changes for their coverage if they'd like for the upcoming year, which goes into effect on January 1st of 2026.
Gary, I mentioned the shutdowns. What should folks keep in mind? Should there be any concerns regarding open enrollment, any delays?
You know, for any of our existing customers, I should say that they really shouldn't be concerned. We're continuing to be committed around ensuring that their services are uninterrupted during this time. And really, they should also think of it as a period to really pause and think about what is the right coverage for them during this annual enrollment period, so that October 15th through December 7th is the right time to think about what drugs I'm taking, what access to doctors, hospitals that I'm looking for, and what additional services might be important to me. Things like transportation to and from a doctor's visit, or dental, vision, or hearing coverage, things that are important in terms of coverage and looking at the benefits that are offered.
Yeah, as you mentioned, a lot to think about. How do you go about finding that right Medicare plan when it comes to your lifestyle, when it comes to your budget, and obviously your health?
Such a great question. First of all, healthcare is individual, so taking the time to really think about yourself independently from maybe your spouse or neighbors or others to see what is best suited for you. And we're here to help. There's resources, for example, the Medicare program offers resources online at medicare.gov, where there's the Medicare Plan Finder. And essentially, it's a decision tool to help in terms of comparison shop around what plan options are available for this upcoming year. Then HealthSpring also offers support and services to help people kind of determine what the right coverage is for them for the upcoming year. And you can contact us toll free at 877-349-2897, or going to our website as well at healthspring.com. And we can actually set up to have an agent or representative meet you in your home or office, wherever you'd like, or just talk to you over the phone and help you in terms of making a decision around what is the right options for you for the upcoming year.
Gary Culp there, Medicare expert, Medicare Sales Managing Director for HealthSpring. A lot for folks to think about, some great advice there. Gary, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. Yeah, open enrollment starts the 15th this week. So again, a lot for folks to think about. All right, we want to go back now to Capitol Hill, where Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is holding his daily press conference at this point, as we are now day 14 of the government shutdown. Let's take a listen in.
Before the Democrats recklessly shut down the government for their own political purposes, Republicans and Democrats were already engaged in responsible, open, bipartisan processes to find answers to these problems. And what Chuck Schumer means when he says that he wants us to negotiate is that he is demanding, and he said it publicly, I can't believe he says the quiet parts out loud sometimes, but he wants a backroom deal. He wants a backroom deal that the American people will never see. He literally has said, we need the top 4 leaders to go into a room and work this out. Why does Chuck Schumer say that? Because that's how he's operated for decades. He's been in Congress since 1980. I was 9 years old in the 3rd grade when Chuck Schumer got here, okay? He is the broken status quo. We are trying to break the status quo so government works better for the people. And Chuck Schumer is resistant to that because he can't even imagine the way the founders intended for this to work. He doesn't want this open, everybody involved, all members, bottom-up process. He wants 4 people to go in a back room and just make this deal and hoist it down upon everybody else. I'm not participating in that. Chuck Schumer doesn't like that. He doesn't like that we're trying to get Washington to work again, because he doesn't know how to operate in that kind of system. And we're certainly not going to allow the American people to be taken hostage for his political gain. I'm going to hand it off first here to the indomitable Dr. Virginia Fox. She is the chairwoman of our House Rules Committee. We call her the Iron Lady of the House. I know she has a lot to say about Democrats' obstruction. She's going to lay out some of the indisputable facts of this government shutdown. Dr. Fox?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thanks for your continued work in calling attention to the facts. You remain consistent and concise in explaining to the American people that the Democrats have shut down the government. And thank you to the members of our leadership team and members of the entire conference who've been equally as vocal and engaged. I've listened to the arguments that Democrats have been making since they shut down the government, and I cannot help but shake my head in utter disgust every time. They continue to lie like a rug. They're trying desperately to change the conversation and deflect because they know they're in the wrong and they've dug themselves into a deep, deep hole. We've now entered day 14 of their government shutdown, and as the days go on, more Americans are feeling the pain. Make no mistake about it, this is real pain being inflicted upon real people. Today, 400,000 federal workers will receive partial paychecks. The Speaker called attention to this last week. This will be the last paycheck that these federal workers receive until Democrats grow a spine and reopen the federal government. Meanwhile, you have Chuck Schumer in the Senate who said in a recent interview, quote, "Every day gets better for us," end quote. His statement is as callous as it is tone deaf. And it reveals to everyone how the Democrats continue to use hardworking Americans as pawns in their own grotesque political game. I'll close with a quick observation. As the Speaker said previously, there's a real split screen here in Washington that the American people are watching. While Republicans are the ones who have voted and are continuing to vote to reopen the government, Democrats have treated their own shutdown as one big attention-getting activity. They've taken shutdown selfies, posted weird videos of themselves doing everything except working, and they even hosted a live stream that failed to gain any traction whatsoever. How embarrassing. These are not serious people. They continue to play a dangerous game with the livelihoods of Americans. And contrary to what Democrats believe, every day of this shutdown does not get any better for the American people. That's a stone cold fact. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chair Fox. And as the Speaker talked about, a lot of people say, why have the Democrats continued this charade of shutting down the government and inflicting pain, real pain on millions of families across America? And the Speaker laid it out real clear. Chuck Schumer filed an alternative bill weeks ago of his list of demands, literally a list of demands that he said have to be met before he releases the American people from this torrential pain he's inflicting. And it includes $1.5 trillion of new spending on far-left wish lists. Things like, yes, taxpayer-funded health care for illegals. It's in Chuck Schumer's bill. He guts rural hospitals. all as part of his demand to open up the government. It's not only not serious, it's also destructive. It's something that would actually hurt this country. And why? All so that he can show the radicals and the far left of his party that he's fighting Donald Trump. Everybody knows that's what this is about. Chuck Schumer is scared to death for his political future. He is way more concerned about his political job than he is about the jobs of millions of American families. And it's having a real impact on those families. Today, as has been pointed out, day 14 of the government shutdown that Chuck Schumer imposed on the country, and it is the day where checks would normally be starting to be processed for all of the government workers, many of whom will not get a paycheck because of Chuck Schumer's shutdown. You're already starting to see flight delays, families trying to go visit a relative, maybe go see one of their family members get married, go on a family vacation. They're not able to do that because of Chuck Schumer's shutdown. Our men and women in uniform at risk of losing their pay. And I will credit Donald Trump for a lot of things, but if you look, President Trump has not sat by and just waited for Chuck Schumer to get over his tantrum. President Trump has continued to do his job for the American people. And thank God, because the world is a safer place with President Trump at the helm. We saw that yesterday. What an historic day. And again, a real contrast to the temper tantrum that Chuck Schumer's having to appease the most radical elements of the far left base here in America. President Trump traveled to Israel, traveled to Egypt to sign historic peace accords, to oversee the release of hostages. Finally, all of the living hostages returned home to their loved ones after more than 2 years since the October 7th attack by Hamas. And one of the hostages, I think it's really important to hear this, because when you talk about real leadership, not just here in America, and the leadership that President Trump has provided to our country, but what that leadership means to the world, not only to our allies, but to the bad guys around the world. And yes, there are really bad people around the world. One of the former hostages who was released yesterday, Omar Shem Tov, credited President Trump with getting the hostages home. And he said, Hamas, quote, was very scared of Trump. They wanted Kamala to be elected. As soon as Donald Trump was elected, they understood that he wanted to bring us back home. So immediately, the way they treated me changed. That was a direct quote from one of the hostages who was released yesterday. You can see that leadership by President Trump on the world stage. And just such an historic day, a day where people were literally dancing in the streets in Middle Eastern countries. Peace in the Middle East. It used to be a platitude that for decades seemed to be a mirage in the desert. And yesterday it became a reality because Donald Trump said he was going to do something that nobody else thought could be done, but he knew it had to be done. And he made it happen and gave so much closure, important closure to those families, brought their loved ones back home, but told the bad guys that you're on alert. It's a new day in the world. You're seeing all countries come together to see that moment in Egypt where countries from all around the world stood up to terror and said, we're going to restore peace in the Middle East. We're all going to be a part of it. And there's only one man that brought that together, and it was Donald Trump. Even during a time where the contrast of Chuck Schumer throwing a temper tantrum here at home just to appease the most radical elements of his base, so that on the 18th, when they have the Hate America rally that everybody knows is coming, and that everybody knows Chuck Schumer needs to deliver a shutdown government to them to appease them. Well, how about you think about us? How about you think about those families who are struggling today because of Chuck Schumer's shutdown? There are real consequences to what Chuck Schumer is doing. Regardless of who he thinks he's appeasing, he is hurting so many people, millions and millions of people. But President Trump is not going to be daunted. President Trump found a way over the weekend to pay our troops. While he was finding peace in the Middle East, President Trump also found a way to say, even while Chuck Schumer doesn't care about our men and women in uniform, Donald Trump does. And he made sure that they will get their pay. But there's still so many others that won't because of Chuck Schumer's shutdown. This madness has to end. It is time for this shutdown to end. Chuck, don't wait for some mad march on the mall. Don't wait for some pats on the back for radical leftists who just want to hate America every single day because Donald Trump is in the White House. They can't celebrate the release of hostages because of the guy who achieved that release. That's a twisted, small segment of our society. The rest of America is celebrating. The rest of America is proud of what we're achieving. And there's so much more that this great country can achieve if Chuck Schumer just got out of the way. Just stop blocking the progress that most Americans cherish, want, deserve. Our country deserves a whole lot better than what we're getting from the failed leadership. And as Speaker Johnson said, maybe it's because Chuck Schumer's been around too long and wants to hold on to the old way of doing things, the failed way of doing things, that he won't let it go. He won't allow a new, more transparent process for running the United States government. That you're seeing this leadership team, this president, delivering every single day. Chuck Schumer wants to hold on to the past, but the future is calling, and we're going to deliver. With that, let's bring up our whip.
As the Speaker noted, today should be a day of celebration. President Trump achieved a historic peace deal in the Middle East. The last living hostages held in captivity by Hamas have been returned with their families, reunited with their families. Yet, we're all here today marking day 14 of the Democrat shutdown. And to make matters even worse, if the Democrats had things their way, this would also mark the first week that our troops would not receive their paychecks. But thanks to the leadership of our Commander-in-Chief, President Trump, members of the military and their families will not be used as pawns in Chuck Schumer's shutdown game. Come tomorrow, our troops will get paid. But the consequences of the Democrat shutdown are real. And unfortunately, they're only just getting started. OMB has already been forced to lay off its first round of federal workers. It doesn't have to be this way. Chuck Schumer, if you open the government today, this would end. If the Democrat shutdown continues, though, more Americans won't see a paycheck at the end of this month. Benefits like SNAP will be put at risk. Airports will be flooded with flight cancellations and delays amid the busiest time to travel all year. And the list goes on and on. Why? Because Chuck Schumer and the Democrats would rather cater to the pro-terrorist wing of their party than to reopen our government. We've said it from this podium, it feels like 1,000,000 times, and we'll say it again. Republicans have done our job. We have a nonpartisan clean CR ready in the Senate to be sent to President Trump's desk immediately, tonight, if they will pass it. We only need 5 Senate Democrats to break ranks with Chuck Schumer, vote for the same CR that they supported just 6 months ago, and reopen the government for the people they were elected to serve. But they have refused to do so 7 times and counting. And each time that they do, hardworking Americans are forced to pay the price. Our message to Senate Democrats today is the same message we've been saying since September 19th. Stop the political games, pass our clean CR, and reopen the government today. With that, I turn it over to our conference chair, Lisa McClain.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. And like my leadership team behind me said, it is a glorious day. Think of what happened yesterday. Just imagine for one moment you are a family member of one of the 20 hostages that were released. I mean, think of how that had to make you feel. We all watched it on TV, right? Joy exuberation. I mean, there were tears of joy. There was relief. There was peace. And that was done because of our president, Donald Trump, put politics aside and said, I am going to stand up for the people. And he brought peace in the Middle East. He talked about it, yes, but yesterday he did it. And actions speak louder than words. He said enough of the political games, and I'm actually going to do what's right. Now compare and contrast that to what's going on today. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are putting politics over people. So instead of it being a joyous day that we celebrate, here we are in another government shutdown, 14 days in the making. And why? Just ask yourself why. It's clean, no gimmicks. It's absolutely clean. The speaker, the leader, the whip, we all said no gimmicks. Let's not use the American people as a pawn. Let's do what's right. Let's do something different and actually fund the government in the right way. What a concept. And Democrats, my goodness gracious, they absolutely do not want that to happen. Like the speaker said, Chuck Schumer wants all four leaders to get behind the scenes and make a deal. We're not going to do that. That's not how government is supposed to work. And I know I sound like a broken record, but the way to end this shutdown is really, really simple. Pass the bipartisan clean funding bill that the House approved weeks ago. The Republicans voted to keep the government open. Call your Democratic senators. They're voting to keep it shut, not us. So when you ask what negotiation, there's nothing to negotiate. We already passed. We said yes, right? Democrats won't do it. They'd rather please their radical base than put America first. Listen, I'm grateful to President Trump for finding a way to keep milk flowing to moms and babies through the WIC and paychecks going to our troops. Yes, I'm happy, but that's not going to last forever. Right? So there again, he's even putting people over politics. I mean, come on. But let's be clear. These emergency measures can't fully fix the Democrats' damage. He can try, but at some point in time, they're going to end. Sadly, as Americans suffer, Democrats, what do? They celebrate.
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. Carlene Bragg is also here in studio. 10:30 is the time. We are now day 14 into the government shutdown. Senate is expected to return for more votes on a short-term spending measure. Previously failed to advance 7 times at this point. Again, you're taking a live look as GOP leaders are speaking and talking about the government shutdown. Come back here at home. We're going to take a step back. We're going to take a 2-minute break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNT Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. All right, so we want to go now. So happening right now in Columbia, South Carolina, on the campus of the University of South Carolina, there's a naming announcement ceremony happening concerning the University of South Carolina's Department of Sport and Entertainment Management. That press conference is happening live. In attendance, David and Nicole Tepper, owners of the Carolina Panthers, also run Tepper Sports and Entertainment and the David and Nicole Tepper Foundation. Let's take a listen in.
For your generosity. As you know, the way that we call it, forever to thee. I will now invite Professor Matthew Brown, the chair of the Department of Sport and Entertainment Management and the Associate Dean of the College of HRSM, to come forward to tell you more about what exactly are we celebrating today.
Thank you, President Amoritas, and thank you to everyone here today. As he said, my name is Matt Brown. I'm the chair of the Department of Sport and Entertainment Management and an associate dean in our college. This is a very special day for our department, and it has been an honor to be a part of this great program for me just over 20 years. Thanks to the visionary leadership of Dr. Tom Regan, who was chair way back when, in the early 2000s, we became the first program in the country to become a sport and entertainment management program. Many people have started to copy us now, so we actually probably did something pretty good back then. Today, we've grown to be one of the largest programs in the nation, or the largest program in the nation, but not only are we big, as President Emery said, we're one of the best in the world. We've consistently been listed at the top of the global rankings, both for our program as a whole and for our master's program in particular. This is a credit to our outstanding faculty, their contributions to research in our field, and importantly, their commitment to creating a premier education program that is shaping the future of sport and entertainment. It's also a testament to our students, many of you who are here, and our alumni who are extremely passionate and bright. Our alumni have gone on to build a really powerful network, and they're leaders in the industry across the U.S. and across the globe. Here in South Carolina, our department has become a cornerstone of USC, helping to establish the university as a leader in sport disciplines and becoming one of the most popular majors on campus. Last fall, I believe we were actually number 2 on campus. The rankings for this fall have not been out yet, so I'm not sure if we're number 1 yet. But over the past 5 years, our impact has been greatly amplified across the Carolinas thanks to David and Nicole Tepper. In 2020, the Teppers made a historic investment in our department to establish the David and Nicole Tepper Scholars Program. Every year since, we have been able to recruit some of the best students in the country to receive 4-year scholarships and exclusive mentoring and career development opportunities. The Tepper Scholar Program just welcomed its 6th cohort and has empowered us to take the student experience and student success to a whole new level. In addition, the Teppers have given their time serving as guest speakers and mentors, opening the doors for students to gain valuable career experiences in Charlotte. David and Nicole, thank you for your support, your time, your commitment to our students in our program. Today, as the President said, we are celebrating an exciting new chapter in this important partnership that will solidify sport and entertainment management excellence at the University of South Carolina. It's going to be a big year, and I'm honored to be a part of it. Please take a look.
It's been so much fun meeting so many people and just experiencing so many different things both within and outside of the classroom.
The support that I've received not only from this college but from the Tepper Scholarship has definitely shaped my entire experience.
I love this school, but I could easily say that I might be somewhere else if it wasn't for the support that I've gotten through the scholarship.
And now I'll welcome to the stage Dean Mike Segas.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. It is a privilege to be the first to welcome all of you to the newly named David and Nicole Tepper Department of Sport and Entertainment Management. My name is Michael Segas. I am Dean of the College of Hospitality, Retail, and Sport Management. On behalf of the college, we are deeply grateful to David and Nicole Tepper for their historic and visionary gift. The David and Nicole Tepper Department of Sport and Entertainment Management is the only named sport and entertainment management department in the country. And it is the first academic department at USC to be named at this level of philanthropic support. This naming will have a positive impact on our program, its faculty, its students for generations to come, through two core elements: sustaining the Tepper Scholars Program in perpetuity and establishing 3 new Tepper Professors of Practice. The David and Nicole Tepper Scholars Program will continue to provide significant 4-year support to high-achieving sport entertainment management incoming freshmen, removing financial barriers and empowering students to unlock their full potential. Students accepted into this Scholars Program receive tuition assistance, mentorship, and unmatched professional development opportunities, allowing them to discover their perfect career path and becoming exemplary leaders. It is inspiring to see the trajectory of our Tepper Scholars alumni so far, many of whom are in the room today, and to know that this prestigious scholarship is forever part of our program is momentous. When students are part of a world-class program, it is more than just a point of pride. It is access to new possibilities, becoming part of something great and realizing that you can be the next professional to do something big in one of our industries. Our reputation isn't built for rankings, although we don't mind them. The Department of Sport and Entertainment program currently holds a number 1, number 2, number 5, number 7, and number 8 ranking across several of our most reported ranking systems. But again, I'm not sure who's counting. Are you, Dr. Brown? I'm not. Our reputation, and more importantly, our integrity as an academic program, is built on our ability to inspire the next generation of leaders to become who they were meant to be, starting on day 1 of our program. The Tepper Scholars Program is a perfect example of this ethos and commitment. The Tepper Professors of Practice will establish 3 new endowed professorships within the department. The positions are dedicated to recruiting and retaining elite educators who are uniquely qualified to teach from professional experience in the areas of sport business and leadership. Giving students the opportunity to learn from tacit knowledge and mentorship sets our program apart already and will continue to set our program apart and leaves a lasting impression on the development of our students, both academically and personally. And finally, to our sport and entertainment faculty and staff of the past and present, 39 strong now and most in the room today, thank you and congratulations. You have spent decades teaching, researching, partnering, and innovating to build up this great program and be ready for this day. Thank you again, David and Nicole, for helping us build an incredible new chapter of our legacy of sport and entertainment excellence at USC. And go Gamecocks. Now I'm honored to welcome one of the excellent alum I spoke of, Tepper Scholar alum, Amber Farah, to the podium to give her remarks. Amber.
Thank you, Dean Segas, and thank you for having me here today to celebrate this incredible program and the prestigious David and Nicole Tepper Scholarship. My name is Amber Farah, and I am a 2025 graduate from the Department of Sport and Entertainment Management here at USC. I was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico, where I attended a very small all-girls school, and it was always my dream to work in professional sports, but being from a small island, I saw it as something perhaps unattainable. Where I am from, there aren't opportunities like this. I can confidently say that the Tepper Scholarship changed my life. It all started my freshman year when we were able to meet and network with executives from Tepper Sports and to build our own professional networks and start building our own brand and start getting exposure. I was able to complete 2 internships during my time at Tepper Sports, one of them being rotational, where I learned from multiple departments to figure out what career path I wanted to pursue in sports. From offensive linemen and Panthers practices to mascot appearances with Minty, to working the Gold Cup and 2 Luke Combs concerts, this internship helped me blossom as I was able to get out of my shell. It helped me build my own personal brand and pursue my passion of working in professional sports. Over the years, we Tepper Scholars have been able to form incredible relationships with Tepper Sports and with each other as well, building a Tepper Scholars network. Maddie, Devin, and Jordan, thank you for being the best role models once I got here to USC, and thank you, Jake, for being my best friend through it all. This scholarship provides students with amazing learning opportunities by accessing the best hands-on experiences on and off the classroom. I am extremely thankful for all the experiences I was able to have here over the past 4 years. Thank you, Nicole and David, and the College of HRSM for giving a young girl from Puerto Rico the space to live her dream and shine. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber. I'm Danny Morrison, and I joined the Sport and Entertainment Management faculty back in 2017. And I see all my colleagues back there. What a privilege to be a part of an amazing faculty, and also see the handiwork of some 1,600 students in our program. So I want to take you back to July 24, 2019. Susan O'Malley and I accompanied Matt Brown up to Charlotte to meet with Nicole Tepper to talk about maybe looking at bringing an honors program, a Tepper Scholar program to the department. She was amazing, most interested, asked great questions, noted that providing educational opportunities were important for both Dave and her, and that they would carefully consider the proposal. Her next comment, though, was the most revealing, and actually the most compelling and powerful. She said, "We are not interested in just writing a check. We would want to be personally involved with supporting the students. And my, have they delivered beyond the financial scholarship. Amazing. Personal visits, interaction and internships with Carolina Panthers, Charlotte FC, and Tepper Sports and Entertainment, and many other unique experiences. Investing with their time continues to be important to Nicole and Dave. There's so many examples of the Teppers' kindness and generosity throughout the years, and especially in the Carolinas. Some garner public attention, but there are countless others that nobody knows about that simply reflect their desire to help others grow and thrive. They care, and it shows. Which brings us to today's historic naming, some 6 years after that initial meeting, that honors not just Nicole's and Dave's wonderful gift, but more importantly, their deep commitment for every student in the Sport and Entertainment Management program to reach their very fullest potential. Special. Please welcome Nicole and Dave Tepper.
Well, you can sit down. I was asked to speak first, so I'm sort of the opening act for the headliner behind me here. You know, this program kind of melds together two passions that the Tepper family has held for a while. One is education and one is sports. In the education realm, we've been long-term supporters of education in New Jersey. We changed tenure reform. We were leaders in tenure reform in New Jersey. We've done stuff with Charlotte Mecklenburg schools. And of course, I think some of you know that we, historically have a lot of involvement with CMU and Pitt. Although I'm a little bit nervous with Pitt, what they're going to ask me for sports after this. It's a kind of funny thing that I heard their involvement and this credit that I got to share for the energy behind this program with my wife, and that's really nice. But I've kind of been more on the bench, and she's been the quarterback of this team in this regard. So she deserves the credit. And listen, I'm not going to take too much time. I'm just going to pass it on to her. One more thing. I should started this out by thanking Danny for his remarks and thanking Dean Emeritus. Did I do that right, or closer to right? Also, Dr. Brown and Dr. Sagas. Did I say that right, Sagas? A little hard names to have right here. So, but I'm going to actually, just pass it on right now to the force behind this effort, my wife, Nicole.
Lower this. There's a lot of thank yous in the room, so I'm going to try to keep this, short. But thank you, everyone, for being here. President, First Lady, thank you so much for all your support and everything you have put behind the students and this program. I appreciate it. I want to thank the faculty, Danny, Susan, Kim, our CEO, Christy Coleman, for always being by my side. Students, alumni, there's a lot of alumni in here, and friends of the University of South Carolina. It's truly an honor to be here with all of you today. The University of South Carolina has been a leader in hospitality, retail, and sports management. Producing graduates who understand services isn't just a job, it's a calling. It requires empathy, innovation, and deep respect for people from all walks of life. My hope is that this department, now carrying our name, will continue to foster that spirit for generations to come. Sorry, I may get a little emotional. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to the university's leadership for their vision, to the faculty who brings this program to life every day, and most important, to the students who remind us why education matters so much. To the students, you are the reason for this gift. You are the future. And my hope, our hope, is that every student, past, present, and future, carries the values of this school's excellence, creativity, and care into everything that you do. This endowment is not only a reflection of gratitude for what this university stands for, but a commitment for its future, a foundation of new ideas, new experiences, and new opportunities to make the University of South Carolina proud. Thank you. Go Gamecocks.
Well, good morning. My name is Susan O'Malley, and like Danny Morrison, my second career is a professor in the David and Nicole Tepper Department of Sport and Entertainment. Before I ask you to join us in the lobby for refreshments, my role today is the closer. So first, let me ask all of the Tepper scholars and alumni to stand, please. I have had the privilege of being on the selection committee for the first 6 cohorts of Tepper Scholars. They stand before you. When they arrive on campus, I try to connect with them. I want to be some small part of their journey. And so I often text them to see how they're doing. Sometimes the response is slow in coming. I see you, Devin. 10 days ago, I texted all of them and said, Dave and Nicole are having an event and they would like you to attend. My phone blew up instantly. Yes, 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 what should I wear? Yes, I have a Commanders game Monday night, but I checked. There's an early Tuesday morning flight. Hat tip, Hannah and Devin. This is the kind of relationship that Dave and Nicole have created with the Teppers. They will always be a part of each other's story. So let us close this event by thanking Dave and Nicole one more time for all they have done for Gamecock community and the Carolinas. And that concludes the show.
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. You saw there the naming of the Department of Sport and Entertainment, named after the Teppers, David and Nicole Tepper, Department of Sport and Entertainment Management there. That announcement just wrapping up there on the campus of the University of South Carolina. Carlene Bragg's alma mater there.
Sure is. Go Cox.
Carlene was telling me all about the traditions at University of South Carolina. And
The sports and entertainment management field falls in the College of Hospitality and Retail and Sports Management. And I flirted with that major for a semester. Maybe.
semester.
I was in is it Hospitality and Tourism Management.
Yeah, and business is a big.
Business is what South Carolina is known for. We're a huge business school. The reason you see so many Gamecocks up here is because it's like a pipeline, because we're a big banking city, big business city. A lot of businesses are headquartered here, so they come up here.
And it makes sense too. The Teppers now are really starting to try to build out that entertainment district here in Charlotte. Bank of America hosting concerts, which something that did not happen years ago with the previous owners.
It makes sense for them. The school's, I mean, what, hour and a half down the road? It's a nice pipeline. It's right down 77. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. One thing here in Charlotte, you're going to bump into folks who went to USC.
For sure.
So, yes. So, congratulations to David and Nicole Tepper for that. So, we're going to take a quick break. We're touching the top of the hour, but we're going to take a quick break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We'll be back here in 2 minutes. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. Carlene Bragg is here with me, and that is it. I told you guys we had a busy show. We had a lot to get into, so hopefully we got to it all. We answered the questions, so we're going to wrap this thing up. However, don't go anywhere. Stay here on WCNC Plus.
Why would you leave?
Why would you leave? Just keep the TV on. I'll see you back in a little bit, but Charlotte's Today is next, followed by Midday, and then we're back at 12:30. So don't leave. Hang on here on WCNC Plus, but have a great day if you do have to do things and go to work. All right. See you guys.